Hey there, Squirrel Army, how's it going? For today, I want to talk about the new dual land cycle from Karloff Manor.
You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing.
Alright, so the new dual land cycle in Karloff Manor, these are, well, sort of true-ish dual lands in the fact that they have land types, so they're mountain, plains, mountain, forest, plains, forest, blah, 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 all that kind of thing. So they are fetchable. They enter the battlefield tapped, boo earns. When they enter the battlefield tapped, you you surveil one, which is basically scry one, but you can put it on the top or into your graveyard instead. Sure, like if you're in a graveyard deck, these could be okay-ish to utilize. So there's a couple of colors that obviously would be better at that, and recurring and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a few that they've completed the cycle from what I can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so they've completed the cycle. Amazing. Like, I really wish they would just complete other cycles that they haven't completed in the past rather than making a new cycle that sucks balls, honestly, for the most part. These don't absolutely suck, I guess. So I shouldn't say that. People play the enters the battlefield tapped scry lands for some stupid reason. I don't understand why. If you're in a graveyard deck, these could be better than those, but that's like it. Like, if you're not in a graveyard deck, or if you're like, well, the top card of my library is a random land that I don't need, or it isn't a land that I need, so I'll put it to the graveyard and just hope for the best. Like, that's the main good thing about, like, Scrylands. But in today's, like, games, like, honestly, for the most part, you just don't need that. Obviously, you don't want to spend a spell slot on it, but still, like, if your land scries every turn, or whenever you cast a spell, or even when you cast a spell of your commander's color identity, or your commander's type, or whatever, anything like that, it's way better. Like, that's why I like those cards so much, is because you just, like, even if it enters tapped and I only get that one use out of the scrying effect, it's way better because there's way more potential for it to do way more throughout the game, especially when you are, doing a whole lot more in the same, sort of stratosphere or whatever you want to say, or in the same type or sort of strategy or synergy. These, like I said, there's no real space for them in that regard. Like, actually, in Muldrotha, obviously, like, that's going to be, like, some of the best ones, because Muldrotha, like, if you can sack your lands in some way, well, you can now just return that land and surveil again and again every turn and whatnot. So, in that sort of deck, yeah, that's going to be really dumb and really powerful. But anywhere else and for any other deck, like, the rest of them probably won't see very much play, if any. Like, maybe a couple of them will, if a deck really cares about having things in the graveyard or whatever, that sort of thing, maybe. But even then, like, I'd rather take something that I know is going to do something throughout the rest of the game rather than it has a one-off effect. Yeah, sure, it's tutorable, but they enter tapped. Like, I will take any enters the battlefield untapped land pretty much over these, even basics. Like I say, rather than take these, because I would rather not have to deal with the fact that they don't really do anything else throughout the game, rather than having just a land that scries that I can maybe find with the tutor or whatever, or tutorable. It's a tutorable land. I don't really care. Like, I don't play that many land tutors anyway, but maybe I know a lot of other people do, but still, like, I don't think it's worth it, like, to run these. Like, Like, in a 2-color deck, obviously you're not going to be too hurt if you're running these. And in fact, if you're like just replace your Scry lands with these, you might be like not unhappy with them to an extent, I would say, because at least they're like duels in that sense. Like, and if you have other lands that care about you having plains or forests or whatever else you have, then maybe sure that will matter, but most of the time it probably won't. So I'm just like, I don't know. These, again, they feel like lands that don't have enough upside to them coming in tapped. Like, I don't know how you could balance cards like this to be good enough. And for the set that they're in, you would expect them to be doing something with clues or something or whatever, things like that. I don't know whether clues would be too good, but just entering and making a clue doesn't seem like that big of a thing. Like, honestly, you need to still pay 2 mana to crack it to draw a card, and this thing enters tap, so that doesn't mean you're doing that anytime soon, and clues are notoriously hard to utilize anyway, because they require so much mana to utilize themselves, plus then once you draw that card, then you're like, well, now I just used my mana to crack my clue and not cast a spell. And yes, sure, you can crack clues at instant speed on your opponent's turn, but that means then you've got to take your turn off to leave mana open to crack your clue at the end of somebody's turn. So, I don't know. I don't think clues would be that good if, lands entered and made clues. Like, there'd be some decks that would get better, but I don't know. There's some decks that get better because of these. There's some decks that get better because of the Scry lands. And there's like a couple of decks that get better because of the cycling lands. So there's always going to be decks that benefit from these more than other decks, certainly. And some decks are just going to be like, whatever. Or if somebody's just like, well, I cracked some Karloff mana and I just so happened to open them, and that's all I kind of have, so I just jammed them in there. Cool, whatever. That's fine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't jam them in decks if you want to, or if you just happen to have them or whatever and you don't happen to have anything else. Like, and the downside isn't that huge, certainly, of saying it enters tapped. Like, that's one turn. But I don't think the quote-unquote upside of being able to surveil 1 makes up for these coming in tapped. If it said this enters untapped, but you have to put the top card of your library into your graveyard, I think that would just be better. Like, that would probably be too good, though, actually. Maybe if it said you have to put, like if it's a graveyard deck, obviously it's way too good. But, yeah, that's the problem of sometimes printing these cards in all the colors, because, like, you're giving it to the colors that really need it, but then you're also giving it to the colors that just go, or, oh, that's really shit for me. So, I don't know. It is tough, I get it, but it's just one of those things. Again, these feel like lands they should have printed like 5 years ago or whatever. They don't feel like lands that they should be printing now. These should just be, like uncommon or common lands. Same with the cycling lands. I think that they should just be common or uncommon. Except for, obviously, the try ones. Those can be rare. That's fine, because they at least tap for 3 colors. But then again, I think they should make quad lands one day, and they can tap for all the colors except for 1, but they enter tapped and have some other like ability, maybe cycling, or they fail when they enter or something. I don't know. I don't really care. That's not for me to design. Like, I'm just saying they should do it at some point. So that each 4-color can sort of, have its own thing. And you don't need to give them types, like, whatever. That's fine. You know. So, yeah, I'm on the these are bad side of the fence, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Like, obviously, like, there's not nowhere. Like, if you're on a budget and you want a fetchable dual land, okay, sure. And if you maybe go, well, I don't want to put stuff in the graveyard, but if I'm desperate to get that land or desperate not to get a land, so I'll just put that land on the top into my grave, or I'll just put that non-land into my grave, and hopefully that won't punish me too badly, and that sort of thing, and I'll get there eventually. Maybe, I don't know. Like, they're just fine. That's it. Like, they're barely fine, and that's it. So yeah, I won't play them. I don't play dual lands anyway, but still, like, I would not play these if I were anyone, unless you're just like, again, happen to have them and that's all you've got, or again, unless like you're playing like limited and again that, or draft or whatever, and this is all you got, or maybe standard or whatever for the two people that play that still, or whatever, that are actually in paper, whatnot. Again, that's just not worth it in our format, I don't think, because there's just better dual lands. Yeah, sure, they're expensive, but you can just proxy them. So, and just even like a basic will probably be like better most of the time. So I don't see that they'll do anything in our format for the most part. Some people will play them here and there, and like they'll be really good. Like the ones that go in Muldrotha will be really good in Muldrotha, but that'll probably be about it. Like, none of the rest of them will really see that much play, except for the ones that go into really dedicated graveyard decks. So those are my thoughts. You guys can let me know your thoughts. Write them down there in those comments down below. Hope you've enjoyed one way or the other, and hope you'll join me again in another one.